You look like a mountain man.
Yeah, I come by that pretty honestly, I think.
We were talking about right before the show that if you've had a drink and you're sitting around writing the script Mountain Man in Montana, that Montana kind of elides into looking like Mountain Man after a drink or two. And
I like to drink what you're drinking.
Really? I thought we were a few weeks away from medical marijuana.
I don't know. Kerry might have found some already.
But anyway, I did look at your name and was like, the more I talked to Mountain Man and I talked to Montana, I thought, man, those really go together. And you are from Montana. Did you grow up hunting, fishing?
Oh yeah. I don't. Even if you grew up in a city, which I didn't, I don't think those are avoidable. Growing up in Montana, we I think last census just broke 1 million people in Montana.
The whole state.
The whole state. So I think Wyoming is less population dense, but just barely. I think we're under one person per square mile in Montana.
Did you grow up eating buffalo and bear?
Not buffalo. I was actually raised a vegetarian in Montana. Yeah, that always surprises people. My dad was probably pushed for it more than my mom, I think, because she did the cooking, so she probably didn't. Would have been easier on her. But we... let's see, I was born in 1978, and so we didn't actually probably start eating meat till I was about 4 or 5 years old, and it was either what my dad had hunted, so deer, elk, and then we had bought the first house my parents bought. I want to say they paid like $19,000 for it or something. Beautiful farmhouse on like 3.5 acres. It was part of an original farm. It was like a family house that was kind of on the outskirt of the farm. So it housed the what they call the finishing lot. So once we bought it, the farmer, the rancher, I should say, he offered to rent the finishing lot from us so he could still use the finishing lot.
What's finishing lot mean?
That's where they go before they meet their maker. As they say.
Okay. Finish them off. Okay, go ahead.
Well, yeah, there's some specific feeding and stuff they do in the finishing lot. They're there for a couple weeks before they get slaughtered. So we, in exchange for him using the finishing lot, we got a side of beef. So my dad could see where the cows were. He knew the rancher. He knew what they were eating, what kind of antibiotics they were getting or lack thereof. And so at that point, my dad figured that beef was safe. So we'd get a side of beef. I think it was every couple months. So that was really my first experience as a kid with meat was whatever the cow was out there. And then a couple weeks later, we had him. So I remember getting up real early as a kid, and my bedroom was upstairs in this farmhouse, and you could go out some kind of French doors onto this porch, and you'd look across kind of our driveway to the finishing lot. And if you got up early enough, you could see the guy come, and he would harvest the cow, I guess is the nice way to put it. So, I think that although I was raised a vegetarian, I really try and stay connected to my food. That's just how I was raised. We gardened in the 2.5 months you can plant stuff in Montana. And, we were eating, mostly economic reasons, but also for environmental reasons. We were eating pretty much only what we produced.
Did you always know you wanted to be a chef?
Yeah, I think that, my mom grew up cooking for us, and family meals were important for us. And as we got older, things changed. My sister was a very talented ballerina, and she danced probably, I think she danced almost 5 days a week in Missoula, which was about a 35-40 minute drive, depending. So as I got a little older, that became a little less and less frequent, just because my mom had to drive her up there. So I was again a vegetarian.
You'd gone back to being a vegetarian.
Yeah, my last 2 years of high school, I was vegetarian.
You're an enormous vegetarian. How tall are you?
I am just 6 foot.
Oh, you look bigger than that.
Yeah, well, it's the beard. But she, she cooks so much for us, and my sister is kind of a vegetarian still. But she just kind of instilled in us a real appreciation for actually cooking,
And you knew you'd made the right decision.
About Amy, for sure. I was still unsure about the culinary thing. But
Really?
Yeah. No, it was. Actually, for me, because I was, I think when we went, I was 24. I had, I think, a much better experience in culinary school than a lot of people. A lot of those kids were, 18, 19, just out of high school. It was kind of maybe a stopgap from going to an actual college. They didn't really know what they wanted to do. I graduated with, I think between our two classes, our AM and our PM class, we graduated with roughly, I think about 45 students in that block. And I could probably name about 7 of them that are probably still cooking.
Would you recommend that path that you took to somebody else if they wanted to be a chef or own a restaurant? Would you recommend going to that school and doing it that way?
Well, that school, Le Cordon Bleu does not exist in North America anymore. Oh. And a little bit because of that reason. I went into it with a pretty reasonable expectation of what would happen when I'd get out, which is you start at the bottom. And I think that a lot of kids, because of Food Network and Cooking Channel and Top Chef and Master Chef Junior and all these things, there's a real romanticized idea of what's going to happen when you come out of culinary school. You're going to be the boss, and you're going to be making incredible money and incredible food, and it's going to be this really just like awesome, like work hard, party hard kind of thing.
Get on TV.
Yeah, and I think a lot of chefs in high and influential positions are guilty of promoting that. Maybe not purposely, but everybody wants to be Anthony Bourdain, everybody wants to be Sean Brock, and there's just not enough of those jobs out there, but there are plenty of jobs for people that want to cook, people that are disciplined and skilled. So actually, there was
so you
a
would
class.
or wouldn't recommend it?
Well, it's a complicated thing. For me, I think it was great, and I would recommend it if people have the same mindset and understanding. But also, I'd worked in a restaurant for 7 years. Mm-hmm. I knew what I was getting into. There was a class action lawsuit against Le Cordon Bleu, basically saying that it was against for-profit colleges, basically, which are they are problematic. A lot of online colleges, you're really not getting the degree you think you're getting. But the chefs I had were pretty honest. You're going to come out of there and you're going to make just over minimum wage, and you're going to be working in the back.
And you're going to have to earn your stripes.
Ground level.
Earn your stripes.
Yeah. Ground level. Yeah.
Well, I want to tell everybody that you've been listening to Up in Your Business with me, Kerry McCoy, and that I've been speaking today with Chef Matt Bell, owner-operator of the sophisticated yet unpretentious bistro called South on Main Restaurant on none other than South on Main Street in Little Rock, Arkansas. I didn't ever get to ask you how that name came about.
Oh, you got a minute?
Yeah.
It's easy.
I mean, a minute. That's all I got.
All right. So Danny Meyer's book, he says that you should call things what they are. He had Union Square Cafe because it was on Union Square. He had 11 Madison Park because that was the address. He had, and he doesn't say name it an address, but the first restaurant he opened that wasn't exactly what it was a place called Blue Smoke Cafe. And it was a barbecue restaurant in New York. And it was one of the only restaurants that he's ever had that was a failure. He has Shake Shack now. That is his big national chain that he has taken. And he just says,
call it what it
don't
is.
be cute. Call it what it is. So,
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, so my best friend Christopher, he called me driving one night. Well, he was actually drunk and he was riding in the passenger seat, and he calls and he says, "I got it." I was like, "You got what?" He's like, "I know what you're going to call it." I was like, "Okay." He's like, "It's South on Main, man. And then he pretty much hung up.
You're like,
I was like, well, shoot, that is it.
that is it. That is
Perfect.
good. That's
Yeah.
good.
If you liked this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking on the picture of Kerry's face in the center of the screen. To watch the full-length interview, click the video in the top right. For more interview highlights, click the video in the bottom right. Thank you for watching.